Hey everyone, I'm Duncan, and today I'm going to show you how we turned this awkward space in my apartment into this sexy built-in office, including how I structurally built the floating desk and shelves, the easiest way to accomplish a modern high gloss finish for your custom furniture, how I incorporated smart color changing LED lighting, and much more. So, stay tuned, keep watching, because this is going to be a good one. What's up guys, I'm Duncan, and if you're new here, I build stuff. Everything from custom furniture to luxury houses to desk lamps. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos or visiting my channel, you're actually coming at a good time, because this is the first video of my new rebrand where I'm changing the direction of my YouTube channel, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my passion for architecture and modern design. I'm also going to share with you the methods that I use to build things, whether it's custom furniture or in the context of my role as a professional construction project manager. Not to mention all the DIY projects that I dream up for the house. Speaking of changes to the channel, I'd also like to introduce my lovely assistant, the Miss Sam Kam, who will be making many guest appearances in my videos and who, in all honesty, is both the beauty and the brains behind this operation. I just pick up heavy things. Now with all that said, let's get into the video. When we moved into this apartment, we were fortunate to get an apartment with a 100 square foot bonus room. Perfect place for a home office, right? So that's what we've done with it. And today, I'm going to show you how I did that. I like to use Google SketchUp to design just about every piece of furniture that I build, particularly because it allows you to develop very accurate models from which you can then develop your cut list, your build list, your diagrams, all of that. It's a very useful tool and I use it all the time. So you can see in this project, I modeled everything from the framing to the drawers to how I was going to build the desktop, all of it right here before I picked up a single tool. And then once I had the design tweaked and perfected to just how I liked it, it was time to put my money where my saw is. And I began to build the frame out of the 2x6 lumber. I pre-cut and ripped down all of the framing. I used a combination of pocket holes, wood glue, and right angle brackets to make my joints. I also CNC'd a frame at my local makerspace from cabinet grade ply. And this was really mostly to help with the alignment of the framework and also with overall structural integrity. Having a local makerspace that gives me resources like this has been invaluable in taking my projects to the next level. Here you can see my fully assembled frame, and I used a hole saw to create wire pass-throughs through the desk framework so I could keep all the wiring very tidy and out of sight. And now we're ready to attach the frame to the wall. Here you can see I am attaching a French cleat to the wall. This is a very handy attachment technique, but a French cleat is really most useful for hanging heavy objects that will be parallel to the wall. However, in this case, we are hanging a desk perpendicular to the wall. And a French cleat isn't so hot for that because the desk wants to fall. However, in other projects that I have built, I've learned that when you're hanging multiple units on the wall, and this desk is being built in 2 pieces, that it can be very difficult to align them no matter how carefully you use a laser level or anything like that. So for the purpose of this project, this French cleat is really more of an alignment tool for the two portions of the desk than it is so much for structural support or weight distribution. So with the framework done and the cleating ready, it is time to start working on the finish. I applied 2 coats of paint and primer in one. Now most of this framework is never going to be seen, so this is probably a little bit of an unnecessary step, but should you ever open a drawer and catch a glimpse of unfinished or unpainted wood, I feel like it would really reduce the overall finished quality of the project, so I went ahead and took the extra time to do it. I used these 4.5-inch lag bolts to attach the frame through the French cleat into the wall studs. Now this was a little bit of an experiment for me. I've never built a floating desk before, and I haven't tried to stand on it, but the attachment method here has been sufficient to hold the weight of the desk itself, the computer we put on top of it, the larger computer that we upgraded to, and all the various knickknacks and decorations, and even support me leaning most of my weight on it. So I'm very satisfied with how it's turned out. At this point, I'm able to install the slides for the 2 drawers and the keyboard platform. I used regular ball bearing drawer slides and push to open mechanisms so I wouldn't have to clutter the drawer faces with any sort of hardware, knobs or pulls or anything like that. I'm going to use MDF to create the faces and the desktop, and I'm going to finish it with countertop epoxy, which will give me the very high gloss finish that I'm looking for. So with the expert assistance of Miss Kam, we painted the desktop and faces, and then we applied the epoxy. We tinted the epoxy black during the mixing stage, and here we are applying it to the desk components. Epoxy is a lot of fun to work with, and it's very DIY friendly, so if you've never messed around with it, I highly encourage you to try it out. And once epoxy hits set up, I can finally start attaching the face panels and the desktop. I used stacks of business cards to shim the drawer faces for even spacing between the panels, and I used blue painter's tape to secure the panels to the frame while the adhesive was setting up. A lot of the footage that I shot of cutting and assembling the shelves isn't really usable, which is okay because I don't want this to be too long of a video. But this is one of the floating shelves I made at the same time as I was making the ones behind me. I made it in the same fashion, I just finished it off a little differently. And so what I did is I made miter joints, and I used glue and a few brad nails to assemble everything. And this creates the floating shelf. And then I used plain old 2x4s, and I cut them down to 1 inch thick, 1.5 inches wide. And this is the cleat that I then attached to the wall. So this would attach to the wall like so, hit a stud with one of the screws, and then floating shelf slides right over it. Like so. And as you can see, it's pretty stable. Holds a fair amount of weight. Wouldn't try to climb it, but I think for display or even for books, I've got one in my room that I have books on. It'll hold all that with no problems. Easy to install, easy to make, easy to take down and move. So the only real difference between that shelf that I demonstrated with and the shelves on the wall behind me is the way that I finished them. These shelves I painted with 2 coats of paint and primer in one, just black. And then on the face of it, on the front of the shelves, I finished that off with 1/8 inch thick black acrylic. And as you can see, it gives it a very modern and clean finish and look, which is what I was going for. So that's my modern floating desk and floating shelves video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you stopping by and checking out the video. Please consider hitting the like button and hitting subscribe, particularly if you like videos like this, or if you want to be notified the next time Miss Cam makes an appearance on the YouTubes. But in all seriousness, I'm going to be bringing a lot more videos of this type about custom furniture. I'm also going to talk about architectural design. I'll be talking about and sharing my experiences as a custom home builder, and a whole lot more. So if that's the sort of thing that you're interested in, I hope to see you on the next video.